Hello, welcome back to RetroBreak and welcome to 21 games that I'm looking forward to in 2021. Despite everything, last year was a great year for game releases and it looks like this year is going to be even better. So I've been spending the past few weeks coming up with this list of what I believe is 21 really interesting and really unique games that I'm looking forward to. So I really hope you enjoy. Let's get started. So the first game I've got here on my list is a sequel to one of my favourite games of all time. If you saw my DS video a few weeks ago, you'll know that one of my favourite games for that system was The World Ends With You. Nintendo and Square Enix recently announced a brand new sequel to that game coming to the Nintendo Switch this year called Neo The World Ends With You. And I can't wait. It looks really cool. The graphics are basically what I remembered the DS version being like back in the day. And that is definitely saying a lot. I really hope the story and the characters live up to the original, and I'm really looking forward to giving it a go later in this year. So let me know down in the comments below whether you ever played the original and whether you're looking forward to the remake or not as well. That would be really interesting to know. Now the next game I've got on my list, and definitely one of my most anticipated of the year, this is Balan Wonderworld, made by Yuji Naka, of course, the game designer famous for Sonic and Nights into Dreams. This game looks like an amazing follow-up to Nights into Dreams, and I really hope he manages to capture the atmosphere of the Nights series. So far it looks quite promising, although the 3D platforming does look a little bit awkward, so fingers crossed they manage to tidy that up a little bit before the full release in a few months' time. But yeah, although I'm really looking forward to the game, I do have my doubts, because as I'm sure you all know, a few years ago a game came out called Rodia the Sky Soldier, which was supposed to be a spiritual successor to the Nights games, and we all know how that turned out. Now, Cotton Reboot next, and this is a reboot of by far one of the most expensive games and one of the holy grails of the TurboGrafx library. I'm really looking forward to finally being able to play this for myself. The game includes the original game and a complete rebooted version of the game as well. I've heard incredible things about Cotton as a series, but unfortunately I've never actually played any of the games. So I'm really looking forward to trying this new one out on the Switch, and I think there's a special edition coming out as well, which maybe I'll get. Now the next one here I've got is Ys Monstrum Nox, which is a really cool game. I love the Ys series. I've known about Monstrum Nox for a few years now. It came out on the PS4 a few years ago in Japan, but finally it's getting an English localization, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. I loved playing through Ys 8 on the Switch a few years ago, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into Ys 9 as well. Now this is a really interesting one that was brought up a few years ago at E3. This one I'll be playing on the PS5, and that is Ghostwire Tokyo. This looks like a really interesting mix of first-person exploration mixed with a horror game and ghost hunting as well. It looks like a really interesting combination, and I know that the team is putting all of their work into this to make it the best game they possibly can. So I'm really looking forward to Ghostwire Tokyo. Now a really cool retro-styled game that I backed a few years ago on Kickstarter. Fingers crossed it's actually coming out this year, and that is Orange Island for the Switch. As soon as I saw this game come up on Kickstarter, I knew it was something that I would be really interested in playing. It looks really nice. I love the graphic style. I love the fact that they're making not only a Switch version, but they're also making it playable on the NES itself as well, which is something I'm really interested in trying out. I actually follow the developer of the game on Twitter, and it looks like progress is coming along quite well, so I'll put a link to his Twitter in the description if you want to go and follow him and check up on the progress yourselves. Now this next one I know a lot of people are really looking forward to. This is No More Heroes 3. Although we haven't seen much of the game, I'm really interested in seeing how they bring back the style of No More Heroes 1 and 2. Of course, recently they released the spin-off Travis Strikes Again on the Switch, but I really wasn't a fan of that, so I'm really looking forward to them going back to the third-person action-style game that No More Heroes was known for back in the day. Now, much like Ghostwire Tokyo, this next game is another horror game that's coming out on the PS5. That is Resident Evil 8 Village. I quite enjoyed Resident Evil 7, but one of my favourites in the entire series is Resident Evil 4, and this one looks like it's kind of going back to that style, that more medieval village style, and it looks really interesting, so let's hope there's a good game hidden behind this really interesting aesthetic. Now, going back to another retro-styled game now, this is a remake of one of my favourite games on the Mega Drive called Monster World 4. Unfortunately though, from the first trailer that I saw, I really didn't think this game looked that special at all, and I really hope that the developers can turn that around and really make something special, because the original game is one of my favourite games of all time. Now, this next game I'm sure is on many Nintendo fans' wish lists for 2021. This is new Pokemon Snap. And it just looks absolutely stunning. I know that Namco Bandai have done an incredible job with the graphics alone, and coming off the back of Sword and Shield and then seeing how amazing this game looks, I really can't wait to give it a go when it gets released later this year. Now, something a bit different, a VR game. I've actually got 2 VR games in this list, but the first one I wanted to talk about here is Panzer Dragoon Voyage Record. There hasn't actually been any gameplay shown so far that I'm aware of, but basically this game is going to take, I believe, is going to take the first 2 Panzer Dragoon games and turn them into a full 3D VR experience. And that kind of game I think is perfect for VR because you're on a fixed path, you can look around in all directions. Hopefully you'll be able to shoot with the index controllers in my case. I just think it will be a really perfect game for the system and I'm really looking forward to it. The original 2 Panzer Dragoon games are 2 of my favourite games of all time. So fingers crossed that the developers can live up to that legacy. This next game here, a lot of role-playing game fans have been eagerly waiting for this game for many years now. Of course I'm talking about Tales of Arise, the most recent entry in the long running Tales franchise. Last year I actually played all the way through Tales of Berseria, and I think that's one of the best RPGs that I've played in a long time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Namco take the Tales formula forward in 2021. Now, another VR game that I'm really excited to play in 2021, it actually did come out on the Oculus Quest, I believe, last year, but this is the first time that I'll be able to play it on Steam VR, and that is Myst VR. Myst was one of my favourite PC games back in the day. I just loved the atmosphere, I loved exploring the island and finding out all of the secrets. I even loved some of the later Myst games. So to go back to the first one and experience it from my own point of view and be able to walk around anywhere you want, I just think that's going to be a magical experience and I really can't wait. Actually, I just realised there was one more VR game on my list. And this game is a game that's coming out on the PlayStation this year called Humanity. It was delayed from 2020 and I'm really looking forward to this one. Tetris Effect was one of my favourite games from a few years ago, and the company THA, which had some input on Tetris Effect, is making this game all about crowds of people. It seems like it's a really interesting and unique game, and judging from the trailer that you're seeing now, I really can't wait to give it a go. Even though maybe it isn't the best time to release it now, considering that the crowds aren't really allowed anywhere in the world, so maybe this is kind of a way of experiencing crowds without actually going out into crowds. I really don't understand what the gameplay is going to be about, but I know I am really interested in seeing how it plays. Now, this next one is more wishful thinking than something that's actually been announced. This is whatever Sega has cooking up for the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Of course, it's been many years since the last letdown that was Sonic Forces, so fingers crossed they've taken all of the complaints and criticism from that game and they're going to put it forward into a brand new Sonic game. Hopefully for the PS5, maybe for the Switch or the Switch Pro or whatever comes next. Either way, I know I will definitely try it, even if it doesn't turn out to be that good. That seems to be a running theme with me and Sonic games. I will always give them a chance, even if they turn out to be rubbish. So fingers crossed they actually get it right this time. Now, another wishful thinking game here. I've put Breath of the Wild 2. Now, no one really knows whether this game's actually coming out next year or not, but all we can do is hope. We still have nothing other than that trailer they showed off a few years ago, and it's been a long time since that reveal. And the same goes for Metroid Prime 4 as well. So for this entry in my list, we have Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4. Both haven't really been heard of for a good few years now, and both of them I'm really looking forward to playing whenever that may be. Now, I had to include a few indie games on this list, so the next 3 are going to be 3 indie games coming out in 2021. The first of which is Solar Ash Kingdom by the same company that made Hyper Light Drifter. This game just looks really cool. The first time I saw it, I knew that this is something that I really wanted to play. This time they've actually made a full 3D action game, and I just think the movement in this game looks really fun. I have no idea how the game's actually going to play, but if it's anything like Hyper Light Drifter, it's going to be a really great game nonetheless. And the next one here, the first part of this game already came out a few years ago, so fingers crossed we're either getting the second part or we're getting the full game this year, and that is Deltarune. I really loved playing Undertale when it came out way back in 2014 or 15, so I really can't wait for the sequel. I know it must be really hard to make a game with the incredibly high expectations that have been set by the original, so I really hope he pulls through, and I really hope that everyone gets to experience Deltarune this year. Now next is a follow-up to another indie game that I really enjoyed a few years ago, that is Axiom Verge 2. We've seen a little bit of it with this brief trailer that I'm showing over the screen now, and I really hope that the full game comes out next year, and I really hope that it lives up to the incredible gameplay that the original had. It looks like they're taking kind of a different approach to this one. It looks a lot more bright and colourful than the original was, which is a great thing in my book, so I'm really looking forward to playing that. And I just love Metroidvanias in general, so when one came along that was as good as Axiom Verge, I knew that I was going to play the sequel as soon as it was announced. And the last game here, this one is Clockwork Aquario, which is a long lost game that was made by West One or Westone way back in the 90s. Somehow they've actually managed to find the game, and they've teamed up with a developer to finish the game off and give it a physical release in 2021, which I just think is incredible, and I'm definitely going to do a video on it when it turns up. In fact, I've actually splashed out and bought myself the complete collector's edition of this game. That's how excited I am to play it. So I really hope it lives up to all of my expectations that I've got for it. West One, or Westone, I really don't know how to pronounce it, was one of my favourite developers back in the day, so I'm really looking forward to playing this lost game from them. And that's it, that's 21 games that I'm looking forward to in 2021. Let me know in the comments below all of the games that you are looking forward to in 2021. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed the episode. Please consider checking out Patreon if you want some more behind the scenes stuff. And that's it for now. I'll see you all next week for the next episode. Goodbye!